So here we painting top 10 ways to create a culture that sticks. I'm excited to be with you today, man.
I am too. I think this is definitely a subject. I know in the last 2 days, I've been on the road the last couple of days, and honestly, every person that I've talked to, this has come up. So it's not just you, it's not just our industry, it's across the board. And hopefully we can, like I said, shed some light and help everybody out.
Absolutely. So I love this. You sent this to me a few weeks ago, and I couldn't, I'd be remiss if I didn't start with it. But job description: must be willing to work in a fast-paced, unpredictable, high-energy environment. And then the environment. I think we do this sometimes. And so right off the bat, when you're writing job descriptions, be accurate. The last thing I want to do is feel like I'm coming into something that's really awesome and exciting, and then have it be something that looks like this.
Yep, exactly. And I don't know how many times I've helped hiring managers work on their job descriptions, and they try to do this. They try to add too much fluff. And I'm like, that might get the person in the door, but they will not stay, because
Absolutely.
You have to be upfront and honest. So that is a great place to start.
Absolutely. So positive affirmations. And can you see this bar up here? Can you see this right now? Or no, like where it says mute and stop video and all that? You can't see that. Okay, cool. Yeah, my setup switched somehow. So positive affirmations. Many of you may not have known that we were going to hop on here and talk about the love languages. It was all a trick. We're going to spend the next hour talking about love. No, I'm kidding. But this is absolutely one of my love languages, and it's actually one of the most popular love languages: words of affirmation, positive affirmations. So why don't you walk us through this a little bit, Tom?
Absolutely. It's a simple thank you goes such a long ways. And just giving those affirmations, I had a quote that a person who feels appreciated will always do more than is expected. So just those simple steps will give you more out of your employees. So how do we do that? Good support system. It goes back to the open door policy. Always have that open line of communication with your team and your team members and your employees, all that, and help them develop. One way to do that, I love the mentorship. So you think back in your career, some have been further along in the career. I know I had a mentor. They helped me guide and grow and develop myself. That will help your team grow and develop, and that will mean so much. So have a mentorship, sign people, ask people to sign up that want to be mentors. You'll be surprised how many people actually want to help out. Another thing is checking in constantly, and not just with your direct reports, but check up with your supervisor, your managers. Also check in with yourself. I know this sounds so funny and weird, but kind of write out what's going on in your situation and what you're feeling and what you're missing, what you're doing. And don't be afraid to give yourself affirmations and really take care of yourself. And then everybody always has like that employee of the month. That's great, but also have an award program that adds value. So set expectations. So you got to do X, Y, and Z to get this award. I know we had in the past with other companies that you actually felt an accomplishment receiving this award. And that's such a great thing. So defined expectations and goals to achieve those awards. And that honestly will help so much.
Yeah, one thing that's really interesting is, and it kind of goes back and forth on a couple of these points, but statistically, a lot of people, so kind of like the weird stats about people are more afraid of speaking in public than death and things like that. That's a shocking statistic to me, right? But another shocking statistic is a lot of people find positive affirmation or being publicly recognized for doing a good job within their company more valuable than a small financial incentive, right? So like if in front of my whole company, if my boss were to say, you know what, Sam did a great job on XYZ, we're really happy and excited that he was able to do this, and way to go, Sam. A lot of people will find that so valuable that it's even cooler than having the $25 or $50 gift certificate to Starbucks in my box when I get home. People want to be seen as valuable and appreciated in front of their peers. And so at the end of the day, like that's not what we would necessarily think, but statistics show that. Absolutely. And one thing I would say too, Bart had a good question here about example of awards that motivate in this industry. I think the thing is like, so Employee of the Month award, it is generic, it is non-specific, and it's one person. When you have a group of people, especially in a market like we're in right now, there's a lot of people and all of their hands are on deck. And so in the past, I've seen companies do really cool things where it was kind of like high school, right? It was like most likely to this, most likely, but like literally like the midnight oil burner, who was the person that stayed late every day without being asked to? Like, did we honor that person and tell them how much it was appreciated, and different things like that, to kind of be able to be specific about the things that we're thankful for in these people.
And another good point for Bart's question is, I know a company that does almost their own Academy Awards, best supporting role, best support, like director, stuff like that, where you write on that term, but it's utilizing our industry or your role specifically. So
absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you could see how like cinematography could relate to this and this, yeah, you could totally see that. I think that's an awesome idea. The second of the top 6 things that we're going to talk about today is the work-life balance. This is like a keyword that you hear everywhere in today's world. Every employer is saying that we promote it, but they don't necessarily, right? And every employee is saying they're looking for a place that promotes that. So I think it's really important. And here, not everybody's looking to be 100% remote. People think that right now. I did a poll on my LinkedIn a while back where it was, like if you feel this way, heart if you feel this way, like light bulb or whatever if you feel this way. And I did exclusively remote, exclusively in office, and a hybrid. And like 90+% of people were a hybrid, right? So like this is the pandemic has changed everything, but not everybody wants to work from home all the time. A lot of people, if you're like me, like I miss water cooler talk, right? Like I miss talking about things around the water cooler and being able to kind of build a little bit of friendship and camaraderie with my clients. I think what this has done, people just want some flexibility now. And now that we know that it's possible to stay functioning in a way where we're not exclusively sitting behind our desk the whole time, I think people are really looking for that flexibility. You see that a lot probably right now, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's definitely one of those things where there's days that people just don't want to come into the office, or they have a doctor's appointment, and most of the time the doctor's appointment's closer to their house where they could go on their lunch break rather than take a day off. So it truly is. And you're absolutely right. I think people just want that flexibility and the ability to be able to work from home and be in the office when it's able to benefit both them and the company.
And it's hard to imagine this, but for those of you that are managers and owners and presidents on this call, statistically speaking, productivity has gone up, right? Productivity went up when people were working from home. So I think the fear of people not doing what they're supposed to be doing and stuff has hopefully kind of gone out the window.
And I think that really, when the pandemic first came about, this shed light on that, because everybody that was being forced to work from home, I know companies were like so worried. They're like, our production's going to go down, and they were watching it like a hawk, and they were blown away when not only did it stay the same, but it actually improved. It actually went up. So
I would recommend that everybody take a glance in the chat. Kathy mentioned the 5 love languages of appreciation in the workplace. Incredible read. Great recommendation, Kathy. That's something that everybody should check out. I'll give you the last point, but this middle point here, it's a pet peeve of mine. I've seen it in the past as an independent title agent in Texas and New Mexico. We may promote work-life balance. Do we cross-train our employees and prepare ourselves internally for when someone is out, whether it's paid vacation, whether it's completely unexpected because of illness or something like that? Are we prepared for that? So part of our job as leadership within a company, right, is to make sure that our managers have prepared, whether it's each office or each department, in a way that they cross-train their people in that department. So if somebody's out for a day or a week, unexpectedly or planned, it can be handled. I think the biggest thing was when I would see somebody take vacation or be out unexpectedly, there were times it was total mayhem because the department wasn't necessarily prepared for that. The cross training that we thought had happened had not necessarily happened. And that led to total like unnecessary stress and unnecessary issues that had we been a little bit more prepared for, we would not have seen at that time. And so it really is on managers to make sure that their department or their office has a good cross-training program to make sure that everybody knows a little bit. Not only does everyone understand what everybody else does, which I think is a huge tool just for empathy and sympathy, depending on the time of the year, for our coworkers, but also to be able to prepare for this so that you don't end up becoming like a vacation downer. I think the thing that I see that bothers me the most is when somebody from a company takes vacation and somebody from their company comments on like a picture on Facebook or something and says, oh, that must be nice, right? Like guilting them about the vacation that they're taking. But the reason they say that is probably because they're in the office and it's mayhem because there was a lack of preparation on their part, right? And now you're making the person feel bad for taking vacation. And that doesn't do a lot to build camaraderie between an employee and their fellow coworkers in their company.
Absolutely. And I think too, with this industry specific to like the title industry, there's some smaller shops where Jane Smith is the only one that does this job. And
Right.
She leaves, we're out of luck. And what I see a lot of happens too is people will just leave it for that person when they come back. So not only are they have a ton to do moving forward, but they're playing catch up. So that creates, what's the point of going on vacation if you're just coming back to more work? And then my last point to that would be cross training actually is good for the development of your team. It's going to give them avenues to go and grow themselves. So to a lot of people, that's important, being able to grow. And I know we're going to talk about that later on, but absolutely.
And I think for me too, this last point, I think our clients and customers are more understanding than we think in some cases. Yes, are there difficult transactions where maybe they're slightly less understanding than we think? Absolutely. But I think when it comes to this side of things, the work-life balance and knowing that someone is off trying to enjoy a little bit of time with their family before school starts or whatever, I think people are a lot more understanding than we think. But again, we're responsible for the preparation for that. And if there's preparation for that, it's amazing how it can really bring a team together when somebody's out, whether it's expected or unexpected. But again, I think the last thing I would say there is, and I'm a marketing guy, so I talk about social media all the time, but be the person that comments on your coworker's vacay and says like, I hope you were having a great time. You absolutely deserve it. I look forward to seeing you when you get back. Don't be the person that says, must be nice. That's kind of like the person that comments on their friend's post when they're out at the golf course or, out to dinner or something and says like, thanks for the invite. Like I've always seen that and been like, why are you saying that? So again, why would I be saying like, oh, it must be nice? No, absolutely. You were at Disney World with your family, a little while back, and I was living vicariously through you, first of all. But secondly, you absolutely deserved and earned that time away, and I was excited to see you take it. So be the vacation lifter, not the Debbie Downer when it comes to that stuff. It has a big it can really change relationships with your coworkers and with your direct reports too.
Absolutely.
This is our next slide on and the last slide on kind of on that. Touch on burnout and a little bit, because that's something that obviously in today's market is a real problem.
Absolutely. Especially with nobody expected how much our industry was going to take off in this last year or so. Everybody was kind of fearful that it was going to go down, but with refinances and whatnot, it really took off, and we were burning the midnight oil. We were cranking stuff out left and right. As a leader and manager, you have to watch out for burnout, because this is going to be one of the major reasons why people will leave your company, because they are just burned out, and they're over it. They're overloaded with all this workload and such. So keep an eye on that. Make sure you balance that workload and encourage the PTO. A lot of times people, I don't know why, Sam, I said this to you last week, like, I don't know why people feel that it's such a good thing to have so much PTO rolling over. Like, I want to use my PTO. It's there to like get myself back to like peace, like it. And a lot of times it's just going to take you, the manager, the owner, the boss, to say, hey, I see you've been working hard, you deserve this, like, let's, and make it a good thing and encourage it. And a lot of people will be more at peace at that. So
yeah, I had the propensity to do that for some reason. I'm like a saver, right? Like, so I would like say it, and it would take somebody coming up to me and being like, hey, you know, I noticed that you had some you absolutely should take some time and go do something fun. Like, you know, is there anything? So really kind of encouraging it. And one other thing I would say too about burnout is it's easier to not only prevent, but to heal than I think some people think. You and I talked about this recently. One thing I did back, you know, as an independent title agent, when the market was crazy in the summertime and like people were just like chickens with no heads and everybody was overwhelmed and everybody had too much work and we were just overworked and it was crazy. I remember I found a local massage therapist that had a chair, you know, that would go to different places and have their chair massage. And I got a card and I brought them in and I put them in a room, and everybody was able to go in for 10 or 15 minutes and get a chair massage. And I did it both. And that's where it's important to put everybody on the same playing field. My former company, I noticed quickly when I got there that there was like closers and escrow, and then there was like back office examiners and typists and all that stuff. And it was almost kind of like two teams. And so I made sure to include everybody, right? Like include everybody. But it was something that like, I think I spent $200 to have a masseuse come in with a chair for like 3 hours or something like that. And people rotated through, and it just showed them, not only are you cared about, do we know that you're doing a lot right now, but we really appreciate you. And we want to make sure that you don't get burnout and don't get overwhelmed. One time I had Uber did a fundraiser here in Texas for like the ASPCA, and Uber would bring like 3 or 4 puppies to wherever you were, and you could like just play with the puppies for like 10 minutes. And I had that happen too. And everybody was just like, oh my gosh, the puppy. Like, it was hilarious. We ended up paying for double time. Thanks to Vicky Brewer, if she's on this call. Vicky was the reason we paid for double time. But those were simple, easy little things. I would go get a bunch of milkshakes and drop them off at the offices in the summer. You know, little things like that like they don't take hardly any time. They don't take hardly any money, but it makes all the difference in the world in making sure that you prevent kind of that overwhelming burnout. So stop number 3, team building absolutely matters. If you have people that are friends and care about each other on a personal level, they are going to work together in a better way and more harmoniously.
Absolutely. And I know there's a lot of like material out there and like team building ideas online. Get creative, make them for your team specific and your group, and really dive into something that your team would like. I know there's different psychological stuff, but a simple, and especially if your folks are, there's a lot of remote and a lot of in office, do a Zoom happy hour. Everybody BYOB, bring your own, just have fun, talk like you're around the water cooler. Simple as that. There's a lot of resistance a lot of times with team building. Just people are, oh, I don't want to do this. This is boring. You're going to have to nudge. And Amy, I love that. The title Olympics, that's huge. Like that's definitely a good one. Setting up stuff like that, making it unique, putting something together that everybody will like. But again, you're going to have to be the one to nudge your staff and really be the cheerleader. You're going to have to really like work to get them all on board, because it's tough. But I promise you, once you do that and they get involved, I seen people like not really know who each other were, and then next thing you know, after team building a couple times, they're best friends. They're going to grab dinner after work. So it's just a lot of encouragement, and it's simple, but make it simple and personable. That's my best advice for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just amazing to see, in my former company, we went as far as to have like a little manager's retreat where we would go out of town someplace, a small group of us, and spend the weekend together. Some talking about strategic planning for the company, but mostly it was about team building, going out to eat, maybe doing some type of activity like Top Golf or something, but it doesn't have to be that elaborate. I think it's amazing how like some of the tightest, most high functioning teams that I know, no matter what's going on, no matter what's happening in the market, no matter how many orders they have open, at least once a month, every single person in that office, and hopefully in this case, it's multiple offices, meets for lunch at least once a month. And it's a long lunch, like it's an extended lunch, like 2 hours or something, but they're sitting, they're talking, they're getting to know each other. And when you know each other on a personal level like that, same goes for clients and customers. The clients and customers that yell at us the least probably know us on a personal level. Once you know somebody on a personal level, it's a lot easier to get along, and you're a lot less likely to have any type of friction there. So team building is incredibly important, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You're exactly right. Whether it's a quick coffee chat or lunch or a virtual happy hour, letting people just kind of, my boss does something that's really cool, and he calls it office hours, right? So we have team members in my team all over the country, and once a month we sit down for probably an hour and a half or so, and it's just come as you are. Show up. What do you want to talk about? And it, at first you would think that it would be awkward behind a screen like this, and it won't be like a water cooler. It pretty quickly becomes that, right? You get chats from other people in there. People are bringing up random things. Dogs start barking and babies start crying and stuff, and it's just life. But it's a great way to kind of get to know your teammates a little more, and try to have a little bit more glue and less friction between everybody. You touched on this before, creating channels for growth. Not everybody is awesome at this, but this is something that we should all absolutely focus on. So why don't you take us through this one a little bit, Tom?
I love this. I think most of the workforce nowadays, their biggest driving force is not monetary value. Like obviously money pays the bills and you want to receive a good pay, but I truly believe that so many of the employees and the candidates and the workforce out there, especially the younger generation, wants to grow. They want to learn, they want to develop themselves. And I think creating those channels for growth are so important. So one way, you really got to set clear expectations. Say, for example, in title industry, escrow officer, you have to make sure, okay, this is the first step. You got to learn this role. You got to look and set those expectations and stick with them. And so they know what they're working for and how they can get there. If they don't have the expectations and they don't know the path to get there, they're going to walk around clueless, and they're not going to feel like they have anywhere to go. So guess what? They're leaving. They're out. So, and the biggest thing I love here, and I know this requires so much work, and it's tiring for managers and owners and such, but making it personalized. That is the key. Sit down with each person, because what Sam wants to accomplish isn't going to be the same of what I want to accomplish. So you create those plans with each person, and that will definitely keep them, because it gives them an end goal. It gives them something at the end of the tunnel that they can reach for. So that is so helpful.
Yeah, I think the idea of creating a personalized plan it's everyone on this call is good at developing business. That's why we're in business, you know. And so at the end of the day, what do we do with clients and customers? We ask questions. You know, how would you prefer that I handle this transaction? Do you have any communication preferences? But sometimes when we're dealing with our own staff, we think that they want to do what we want to do, and we don't ask them, hey, you know, so Tom, like, what are your career goals for the future? What does that look like? Tell me a little bit about that. And so I think by asking, that changes everything. And you know, just by kind of inquiring and not doing a one size fits all. And one thing I would interject here too is I've seen in the past things happen where there was a new role being rolled out within a company, and around the water cooler, people were talking, and someone's like, hey, did you see that job posting on Indeed?
Yep.
And somebody's like, what? And they pull it up on their phone and they're like, yeah, look, they're hiring for this. I would be interested in that. And no one had told them that there's an opportunity coming. So if you are proud and thankful for your staff, make sure that the first place you go, if it's feasible, when you're hiring, is your staff. Not only letting them know, hey, it's a chance potentially for a promotion for some of you. If anybody would love to apply, we would love to have you grow from within. But they also may know people that are interested as well. And it's a weird kind of almost negative feeling when I see a posting on a job board and I hadn't been told about it yet. So it can actually flip the coin in a not great way if you don't do that.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's going to bring to light a lot of the people you had no clue they were interested in this area or this position or this path. So I think by them applying will give you an insight and then that opens up the door for that communication and that, all right, you're not fit now, but let's create a plan, because that they'll be like, oh, I didn't get it, but you know what? I'm pumped. I have a plan now, and that's going to keep them around. So absolutely.
I love this point. Don't be possessive of talent, and don't be upset if someone leaves to expand their career. Yeah, that we see that happen because it's hard to build a staff that is great and high functioning and smoothly operating. And so when someone does leave, or when someone thinks about leaving, it's easy to be to want to do things to try and retain them rather than let them spread their wings, if you will.
Absolutely. And I think especially with the title industry, it's, sorry to everybody out there, but it's an aging industry. There's a lot of folks that have been in it for many, many years and they're near retirement. So I think we have to fill it back up with new talent. And I think so many people are afraid to do that because they're going to invest into these folks, train them, and then they're going to leave. You can't be afraid of that. No matter what, you're gonna lose people. Just by not investing, you're gonna lose more. But if you invest, you'll lose less. And that's don't be possessive. Like, help. My biggest point to this is, if you do your job right, everybody and their brother are gonna want your team member, your employee. So if they leave, it's because you did your job right.
Yeah, it's kind of a feather in your cap, and part of that, like you pointed out here, is providing education and development programs specifically for your client or for your team, right? Like, what are those opportunities? What does that look like? And what does the investment from the company side look like too? Both internal education, you know, that's one thing too that I thought, you know, you touch on people nearing retirement and stuff like that. Man, that's the coolest thing about this industry. There was a guy named Walt Kozwalski that had been a title examiner for like 45 years at my former company. And I started doing something called Wednesdays with Walt. And first it was just me. And I said, hey, can we meet every Wednesday around lunchtime and just spend 30 to 45 minutes together? I want to learn from you. I want to learn, you know, you've been here a while, obviously. And like, I want to be a sponge. And then it turned into Wednesdays with Walt with other people. So a bunch of people started coming, and it turned into, you know, really a bi-weekly kind of like hour-long class with him. He's been in the industry forever. There is nothing that he hasn't seen, right? And so I think providing education could be as simple as that. And the thing at the end of the day I learned a ton from Walt. I have a lot that I owe to him. He's the one, you know how everyone on this call knows that I say a rising tide raises all ships all the time. He's the guy that I learned that from. So I learned a ton from him. But you know what's really cool too? Walt one time I saw him recently. I've been gone from that company for a couple of years now, but I saw him recently at like Jason's Deli or something, and he came up and he said, "Man, I really missed that. Like, I really got a lot out of that." And so I was like dumbfounded. It meant something to him too. He was able to impart some knowledge on somebody else and flex those muscles that he'd been building for the last 5 decades. So providing that education isn't as complicated or as costly as people may think.
Exactly. And it goes back to that mentorship. Like, we have so many people within our own organizations that have this wealth of knowledge that are walls. And like you said, they would jump at the chance to help and grow people. They want to share their knowledge. I mean, you talk to any title person that's been in this industry long enough, they'll talk to blue in the face about title. They love this stuff or they wouldn't be here. This is their bread and butter. So it's and you're right, it doesn't have to be expensive. Most of the stuff is so minute monetary value, and it's simple. It's so simple. So speaking of pay,
yeah. So you put in here pay equity, and I want you to kind of touch on that, because speaking of water coolers, everybody in your company at some point ends up figuring out what everybody else makes. You may think no one has any idea what everybody makes. Everybody knows what everybody makes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In my past life, this is something I kind of dealt with and had to keep an eye on. And it's tough because maybe if you're smaller, it's not as hard. But once you get into hundreds of employees, it's hard because you're bringing in this talent from externally, but you're also promoting within. And a lot of times, like, you don't make them balanced. So that's the biggest thing. Make sure you're keeping an eye on it, because like Sam said, people talk. And I know, for an example, a friend of mine, his company put a job out there. They were hiring people on Indeed, and it happened to have the pay. The pay was, I think it was like $18 an hour. Everybody in that team got $15 an hour currently. And they were there for years. You know, as soon as they saw that ad, they were in that boss's office going, "Hey,
What's this? Yeah.
what the heck?" So
Yeah.
be mindful of that. And that's going to, if you create too much indifferences, obviously skill is going to make a difference. So somebody that's higher skill might get that. That's fine. But make sure you're keeping an eye on it, because that will cause people to jump ship.
Absolutely. Goes back to feeling kind of unappreciated, right? Undervalued. So obviously I love marketing, so we'd be remiss if we didn't make our 5th stop, and we'll try to keep this up and have you guys out of here in 5 or 10 minutes. But outward marketing and community involvement is absolutely key. A couple quick points here. Reviews are important because your future employees and candidates and people looking into you for employment, not just clients and customers, realtors, attorneys, lenders, not just them, but people thinking about applying for a job there, look at your reviews online. So it's important that your reviews are reflective of who you actually are. So if you want some strategies to grow your reviews for your company big time, reach out to your MTD. Sarah, Brian, or myself are glad to help you with that kind of stuff, and have had some real success with that lately. But having an active social media is part of that as well. I want to work for a place that is vibrant and not that picture from the first slide, right? Like, that's not where I want to be. And so social media, bragging on your employees, not just your clients and customers, but your employees, celebrating their birthdays. I have a client that you and I work with a lot, Tom, that is great about, I mean, and they have a ton of employees, but they're great about sharing employees' birthdays and when they reach education milestones and career milestones on social media. That stuff is really important. And show the personal side. The whole point of social media is to be social. It is not to be institutional and cold and drab. It is to be social and vibrant. And these are things that not only the people that are already working for you, but the people that will one day work for you will look at. People want to be proud of where they work. I worked really hard to try and create my former company into a place that, like, people admired. They thought it was kind of cool. So not only did it work well for clients and customers and retaining them and bringing them on board, but just as importantly, it did a lot for being able to retain our staff. I wanted to touch on 2 different companies real quick while we're on this that do a good job of this. Google, the satisfaction rating of people that work at Google is through the roof, because it's cool, right? They think it's cool to work there. The offices are cool. They value being able to have a work-life balance, being able to have a mixed work life when it comes to remote versus on-site, and all those types of things. And then this, I've always thought this is really cool. I have a buddy down in San Antonio who's the market leader for Movement Mortgage. They have swag out the wazoo. They have hats and beach stuff and cups and glasses and stickers and phone cases and shirts, all this stuff. And it's all really cool. So people from their company are going in, buying their clothes through this because they think it's so cool. Like, when's the last time somebody was begging to wear your company logo? Like, they've made it so think outside the box. It doesn't have to be, you know, a blue button-up shirt with my logo right here. It can be things like this. And the company culture at a place like Movement is really cool. And a big part of the reason why, I think, is because of the swag and things like that. And it makes it neat. And people are excited to work there. You want to touch on a couple of these last ones, Tom?
Yeah, and real quick on the review piece, Glassdoor is a big one for incoming talent too.
Absolutely.
When I'm looking for a job or others are looking for a job, they're going to Glassdoor. They're looking from an employment standpoint what the reviews, not only what the external customer reviews are, but also the employee reviews. So I would definitely recommend staying very active with Glassdoor and whatnot. So
yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Glassdoor, absolutely go check it out. Glassdoor.com. It's a pretty powerful tool, and it's a way to see people can post anonymously, people that work there, right? Yep. Like they can say, these are the pros, these are the cons. So it's a great place as a manager to be able to go and see what your people are actually saying. How do they really feel? So Glassdoor is really cool. I'm glad that you mentioned that. I love this point here about community involvement and charitable endeavors as a company. You want to touch on that just a little bit, Tom? I know it's
yeah, I know we're getting close to it, but yeah, real quick. I mean, people want to be part of an association that cares and gives back, and a lot of people love giving back to the community. I think that's one of the things with the pandemic that we've really come together, and I think that's what people look for, especially the younger generation. They want to give back and give to the community. So having that reputation within your local community will go a long way as well. So it's simple as volunteer time, and supporting that and encouraging that and trying to get more and more involved. So
yeah, and those really have multiple purposes, right? So like we had talked about team building, and Tim had mentioned, like, are we prioritizing team building? People spend more time at work than they do anywhere else in their life, right? And so an awesome team building opportunity is charitable things, whether it's Habitat for Humanity and Homes for Heroes and things like that. Or, the Assistance League is a great organization. There's all kinds of organizations in each and every one of our community. And to be able to do something like that as a team, as a group, not only are we helping the community, but it also becomes a great team building activity too. So the last stop on our journey is going to be an offboarding process that doesn't hurt. It does not have to end like this. When I was younger in my life, like, you'd see these shows and you thought that everybody, like, when a job ends, they quit in like a blazing glory and there's papers flying and all that. It does not have to end like this. So how do you create an offboarding that doesn't hurt, and what are the benefits of doing that? Let's touch on this, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. And key first sentence right there, burning bridges goes both ways. That's the thing. Like, obviously, as any person that I talk to, I always say 2 weeks notice, give them that, and that's respectable. Goes as well for the employer as well. Don't burn that bridge. Don't be upset that they're leaving. Goes back, don't be possessive, be excited. And you never know, they may come back, and by creating that good experience, they're going to talk great things about your company. And if they don't come back, they're going to refer other people. So that's definitely a big thing. And
that's a great time to learn, right? Like, that's a great time to learn, right? Like, it's,
exactly.
Right? When somebody's on their way out, it's a great time to ask questions about their experience as a part of your team, and
Right.
you're going to get honest answers in that moment. They have nothing to be afraid of. They're on their way out. And one thing you said right now is so important, because they may or may not come back, right? Like they may find out that they went to some other industry or maybe even another company, and they're like, man, I want
Right.
to come back. But I can tell you there's a way to guarantee they never come back. And that's if they have an awful experience in offboarding. There's no way they're ever coming back. And not only are they not going to come back, they're going to tell everybody about that.
Exactly.
Right? And this is this industry is very incestuous. Everybody works everywhere and everybody knows everybody, and and mixes and mingles with everybody. And so word spreads really quickly when someone has a very bad experience in this way.
Exactly. And I see it as a fact-finding mission too. Like you touched base on that, is they're going to be free flowing because they have nothing to lose. They're like, okay, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. But that's going to help you become better and just make your company better. And the other thing too is, I hate when people, I get sometimes you have to, if they give you your 2 weeks notice, their 2 weeks notice, and some instances, sensitivity, whatnot, you have to walk them out the door right then and there. But if you don't have to, don't cut ties right. Hey, I accept your 2 weeks. Thank you. See you later. I think that's crazy, because you're putting yourself in a predicament that there's so much unresolved things that they're working on that you're trying to figure out. You're wasting time and you're burning that bridge. So keep it professional and keep it just keep it cool. Like don't burn those bridges. That's it.
Just like people will be sure to talk about it if it's a horrible experience, people will be sure to talk about it if it's a good experience. And I remember in the past, I had a couple people that left to go to a competitor, and it was handled in a way that some of their family and close friends came to work for us while they were still working for the competitor, because they were like, hey, the way you guys handled that and
Exactly.
and the appreciation you showed me, even though I took this other opportunity, really stood out to me. And 2 people I can think of that left and absolutely came back. And they came back because of the way we handled that when that happened. Never burn a bridge, just like Tim just said.
Amen. That's it.
I think this last slide is absolutely perfect. And Tom, you wrote this, so I'll let you put this one home.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest key, everything you can do right, but be proactive in your teams and listen. And my grandfather always told me, because I'm a gabber. If you know me, I never shut up. So, but my grandfather would always tell me, he's like, son, you got 2 ears for a reason. Shut up and listen. So listen to your employees. They build that line of communication where they're comfortable talking with you, and they're gonna help you grow. If you help them, they'll absolutely. And the gratitude you show will truly, truly reflect in their work. And you're the key. The manager, the owner, the leader, supervisor, you are truly the key. All your excitement, your enthusiasm is so key, and it will be infectious. So
absolutely. I mean, gratitude is my word for the year. And to top it off, Tom, I'm grateful for you. It's an honor and a privilege to work alongside you. And we only lost a couple of people during this. Everybody has stayed on. I am grateful for each and every one of you that's on this call. We're grateful to be a part of your team. And if you have any questions about any of this stuff, you can scan these QR codes and connect with Tom and myself. It will be recorded. It will be sent to you. And if you feel the need to use this presentation for your team and your staff or in your office, take it, use it. It's about you. It's not about us. We appreciate your time today. Have a great rest of your day. And we hope to see you all very soon. Thanks again, Tom.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Sam.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.